Hello, I'm Brian Valentine. I'm manager of English Chess Federation Grading, and this is a grader's introduction to the new ECF grading administration system. It is not a tutorial, but an introduction that may help you get over some initial glitches so you can learn a bit yourself, and I'll go into some of the ways you can do that later. I'll remind you that if you want to carry on doing things the old way, then we will be supporting that. But I very much hope that you'll find this much easier. That's certainly what we've been trying to do, and I'd invite you to try it out later. This is still a beta version, and some changes may still be made before it goes live, but this is essentially what you will be getting. Here are a few bits of details that will help. Firstly, how you get into the new website, and I will talk you through how to sign in a minute. And if you have any questions or comments, we'd be grateful if you can send them to myself or to Matt Carr. We will do our best to improve things. Right, how do we get into the system? Well, there is a sign-in page that I've already given you, and it looks like this. And if you have not signed in before, then you need to get a password. If you are a grader, we will have you on our list. If you're not, you can approach me or Matt and we'll sort out something. But if you sent us in a submission in the recent past, you should be on the list as with your email address. If you put it in the top line and then press reset password, then what will happen is an email will wing on to you, giving you a code that you can stick into the password box here, and that will allow you to get into the system. A word of warning, this does take a bit of a while sometimes. It has taken up to 3/4 of an hour, although it can be very quick. So I'm going to log in. And hopefully this will get us in. Yes, I am into the new system. Now this is the home page, but we could also call it a help page. There's various pieces to help you get over some problems you may get. I'm not going to go into them now. They are there, and if this is something missing, again, comments will lead to us improving the system. There are a number of things on the tabs at the top here. The first one I'm going to show is players. If you're looking for a player for some reason, then you do a search, and we get 3 Carsons, and it's as I've got a duplicate to sort out there. We'll go into players a bit more later, but they're all there. There is the normal clubs file, which has been available to you for a long while, just modernised a bit. One thing I will say, in phase 1 of this, we haven't got a registration system up and running properly yet, but it will become increasingly important that you know the standard events here, so to help you set up a new submission in the future. That's not part of this phase, so I won't go any further, but some of the helpful things around it are already there. So the submissions and players will come to in a minute. Okay, so the next thing to do is move to the upload section, which is of most interest to you to start with. Now there are the 2 existing formats, TXT and XLS, that you will be used to using one or the other, and you can now use the more up-to-date Excel and a more open source version. There is also a JSON file available, and if you need it, you can actually upload zip files. But I'm going to not do that today. I have a fictitious match between the ECF and the cabinet, a standard format XLS file, which you'll be well used to, with a header, player list, and a result list that you'll be well used to in some form or other, so nothing special there. So I'm now going to upload this file I prepared earlier. I could try and upload it and submit it before, but as you're probably aware, it's probably easier to check and report only, so I'm going to just look at what's happening. And very quickly I get a report. I've got the A problem with the treasurer's name, but that's been put right automatically. And now we get to matching some of these players. So the first one is this chap, Boris Johnson. And there's no Boris Johnson, nobody from London Southwest. So I'm going to request an ECF code of him. And that's gone through. Another guy from London Southwest who's not played before, no goes. Request him. Dominic Raab, not a Raab in sight, must be a new one. Oh, this chap Adrian Elwin, it's quite clearly this guy here, so I won't set up a new code, I will match. Another chap who has not played before. Alright, so we've got this guy with a funny name, very difficult to spell, but if we look over here, there's a much better version of his surname, and I'm pretty sure that's the right guy, so I will match him. It's interesting that he does come up as the nearest Czech. Okay, so we now have everything done. And look in the list of submissions, it's there with all the details saying what's going on. I can try committing. And this is one where Matt Carr will look at it first, so it's pending, as you can see. And we can go back and look, and these are the issues that are pending. And they look all right to me, so that's okay, we've done a submission. So that's all I'm going to show you about submissions today. We'll now go on and look at the output. Right, okay, now we've come back here to the sign-in page, but there's another page which we can get at most easily by just crossing out the sign-in. And this brings us to essentially the ECF website page as it was and is now amended. We have the top player list. You can look at Mr. Sadler in more detail if you want to. I'll come back. That's a good example. We have brought the list of events received inside the system, so you can see if your event has been received or not. We have a list of clubs, which helps you identify players sometimes. And players. And so let's have a look at this guy. So he's listed. So if we click on here, this brings us to his record. This looks remarkably similar to the old site. If we click on the games played, we go through, and what's happened with Mr. Carlson is he has no proper grade. This is listed as a partial grade. And what has happened is his 6 games are taken there, and an average of his score has been taken, and it comes out at 218.0. You can look at someone who's played more games. Probably me is as good as example as any. And what I'm intending to do here is to show you right, so no games since February. At the end of January, I had a grade of 1954. Of course, we've moved to the ELO system, and that's what it worked out at. And then I've played 4 games, which is not looking too healthy. And if we add all these up, I've lost 23 points. And this is basically how the ELO system works. You get a game for each rating, and that takes it forward to the end of the month. So that's an example of a full ELO grade and what we're going to disclose. I'd like to show you the up-to-date position, but there haven't been many games played since the end of February. So we've looked at the top players, and we've seen the grading record. Of course, there are things you can click here. Mr. Pike has managed to play a game in March, but otherwise the layout is fairly similar. We can also look at events. So these are all the games played in the Bedfordshire internal event. There are other displays for congresses, etc. So I invite you, you don't need to log in to get into this part of the website. You can just click on the ecfgrading.org.uk sandbox and play around to your heart's content to get a feel for it. There are a couple of things I perhaps should have mentioned earlier. The first is that all the information on this site is purely fictitious. We have done a straightforward load, but since then people have played around with it, added extra information, and various other bits have gone on. But it gives you an idea of the layout and everything else. And talking about layout, the layout here is designed for mobile phones to help you browse online through your phone. And you may find the layout, the color scheme, a bit garish. And for me on a PC, the best way is to come up here to the English Chess Federation, tick on it, and you get an alternative layout, which I find more pleasing on the eye on a laptop. So that gives you some alternatives there before you make your first comment to me about what's going on here. Okay, so I'll remind you of the website and the email address with comments and queries, and that is the brief introduction to the new website. The plan is to turn off the 3-digit grading list at the end of August, bringing up the June, allowing time for the June update, June list to be amended, and then we will move to this format for September. I hope to have it up a bit earlier than that, but it's amazing how time flies. I remind you that we're moving over to a monthly system, and it's rather important we get the games in their right months, so I'd appreciate you diligently searching out the date a game is completed and entering it into your submission so we can make statistically correct grades. As I said before, this is the first phase. There will be a registration system, and when that is available, we will explain how that will work. And as this sandbox definition on the website implies, this is a play area for you. If you get your email in and obtain a password, you can sign in and look at the submission section in more detail if you wish, and even go as far as making a submission. It will not do us any harm. The main system is being built elsewhere. So that ends the introduction for the new administration system. I do hope you like it, and I do invite you to play around with it, and if you do so, good luck.